was the king of Israel. And how you, as a person, as an individual, you may not understand who you are. But I want to remind you, you are a servant of God by anointing. And that's why you are leading in Kenya. I want you, before you listen to those who advise you against the church, first listen to God. He is the source of your appointment. He is the source of your elections. Remember what happened within the period of your campaigns. It was not easy, Mr. President. God took initiative that even your challenger had to withdraw. The confusion was not yours, but the confusion was that God may restore you back to the seat which belongs to you as a president. Mr. President and my president, I don't want to regret because I fought it for you, but I want to be very sincere and categorical. I casted my vote on you because I was driven by this appointing God, and that's why you are president today. I don't want to dwell on myself. I want to dwell on what God is saying to you. Remember, you are losing the elevation when you are abandoning the church. The church of Jesus Christ is just an avenue of God's communication. Every priest, every man of God, called by God, has there's a responsibility in your life. I remember this king called Ahab. There was a meeting in heaven. And this meeting was a very serious meeting. I wanted to listen to me, Mr. President. And be ready, actually, even if you don't listen to such kind of people like me. This man married a woman called Jezebel. And Jezebel was a worshiper of other gods. Then Jezebel herself brought the prophets of Baal because she used to worship through the prophets. Then he brought the idol called Baal. Then one time there was a meeting which was held in heaven. And the meeting was about how to bring down this man who was under the anointing of God, Ahab. Then the resolution was simple. There rose a spirit and said, I will put a lying spirit on the lips of all the prophets of Ahab, that they may prophesy false prophecy. My president, they did it, and that was qualified in heaven. Then all the prophets prophesied actually according to what the king wanted to hear. But finally rose one prophet, whom actually King Ahab believed that he always prophesies against him. Then he was called, and actually Jehoshaphat was still there. And he said, do not say that he usually prophesies against you. Let him come. When this young man came, the prophet, he prophesied what actually to what Ahab wanted to hear. Mr. President, be careful of the men who are surrounding you. Majority of the prophets are just impressing you. They don't want to tell you the naked truth about what is happening in the circle of your leadership. There is a lot of misleading, Mr. President, from men whom you think are assisting you. Let me be sincere with you, Mr. President. I am not for anything. I am just like Micaiah, a man who was left, who was not known in the palace of Ahab because he spoke the mouth of God. Mr. President, Your Excellency, God is against what is happening in Kenya now. The discord and the infighting in your government, and men who are flaunting themselves to please you and not guiding you in the right direction. I want you to listen to me, Mr. President, because Kenya is squarely in your hands. And the salvation of Kenya is not in the men who are scientifically equipped. This disease is one of the plagues that have befallen actually the majority of those who rebelled against God. And the Church of Jesus Christ as the answer. I know you may not want to hear this, but every praying nation, every nation that adores God as their leader, is ever healed by this God and is ever given prosperity by this God. I beseech you by the mercies of God, Mr. President, reverse and rewind what you said concerning the churches of the 5 counties. The churches are not offensive to you. The churches are not rebels to you. They are not rioters. The churches are loyal to you and willing to solve the problems that has besieged Kenya. Mr. President, we were doing it well before the campaigns and the BBI issue was released. Mr. President, everything was okay before you originated the BBI and also the Tanga and the Kieleweke groups. They rose. And when the BBI was released to campaign, and when the BBI was down to the assemblies, that is the count assemblies, Mr. President, things went wrong. Then there were campaigns which were not protective. Those campaigns brought Kenya unto its knees where we are. Yes, you are complaining about what is happening. It is within your mandate as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces to protect and secure our country. And that is what you are doing. But remember, the church offended you with nothing. The church did not offend you, Mr. President. The church did not disown the regulations of the Ministry of Health. They adhered to 1.5 meter distance. They planted water points in their compounds. They even went to an extent of buying thermal guns that the temperature of their members may be tested and known. They even bought masks, not the members who bought them, but the church leadership bought a lot of masks, and there was the provision of sanitizers. We maintained every law which was laid before us by the CS and also by the group that was looking concerning this plague called COVID-19. Mr. President, the church obeyed. The church stood with the government. We were there weeping and crying for our nation. Mr. President, many things God is against them which are being done by the leadership of Kenya. Mostly the corruption is very high. Remember, you said These are not my words, but I want to quote from what you said. 2 billion shillings are lost every day. That is the statement you gave, which means corruption was growing very high. There is a lot of overlooks of those who are orphans and those who are poor. The richer are growing richer by stealing our tax. Those who are in authority have stolen a lot of money. And you confessed with your mouth, God is against corruption. God is against corruption. And so, the church is still standing with you. It is still praying with you, even the time when you are disowning them that are standing with you. You may think the politicians of today are standing with you. You may think that those who are surrounding you and who are giving you direction are on your side. But actually the confusion that is there tells us guys are against you, are undermining you, and if not so, they have been filled with the spirit of lying to you. Mr. President, Kenya loves you very much, you individually, because you are not by yourself. You are a man anointed of God. Do not allow lying spirit to lie against the church of God. We usually stand with the leadership of the country. We usually intercede for our country. The church is never against you. Do not cause God to be furious with your leadership when he did all what he could do, that you gain back your mandate of becoming the 4th President of the Republic of Kenya. This is the person I used to know those times of campaign. A humble president, a president who was kneeling down with his deputy, that men of God to lay hands on them. Why disown men who were on your side and who were just standing with you? This is my humble request. Open the churches, Mr. President. Give them the guideline and they shall obey. Allow the places of worship to be opened. The words, Mr. President, you said that the places of worship stand suspended is a very strong word in the presence of God, because he did not give you power to suspend and to close his places of worship. Mr. President, I beseech you by the mercies of God, I know you have ears, and I know this message will reach you. Please listen to the inner man who is speaking to you, because there is a voice, Mr. President, which is speaking to you about the church. And I want to believe you are hearing that voice. Please open the churches. Allow them to pray for you. Allow them to stand with this country. Allow them not to be complaining because they are complaining. Men of God should not complain about the leadership. They should pray for it. Mr. President, I love you so much, and this is my advice. Open the churches. Allow them to worship as you have allowed the markets and the vehicles, that is the transport sector, and other avenues. You have allowed them under limitation of time, but you have forgotten the church, the place of worship, the place of your redemption, the place where you were found. God bless you as you hearken to the